How's it going, everybody? I'm back for another video, and today I want to talk about Scream 1996, the original Scream, and the start of this beautiful, beautiful franchise that's near and dear to my heart. I figure with Halloween being a few days out, and we're leading up to our big Halloween Ends episode on the Deadhead podcast, that I would talk about a horror classic, a movie that really rejuvenated the horror genre in the 90s when horror was kind of in this stalemate. You had all the Friday the 13th films that were, let's just say, not great. The Halloween films, again, not great. Friday the 13th, yeah, and so on and so forth. And Scream is a very special franchise because it came at a time where they felt like horror was dead. It felt like horror was done. So this movie is really, really special, and I think this movie really set the tone for horror that followed. Any horror movies that came after, they really try to replicate, and even now they try to replicate the magic that this movie had. So I want to get on camera and talk about it. I don't have anything scripted, I don't have anything written down. I've seen this movie a billion times, so I figured, you know what? Let's upload a video because I can talk about this really easy and do a little bit of editing and show some pictures and things of that nature. So with that being said, thank you guys for clicking on this video, and thanks for clicking on the channel. If you wouldn't mind liking this video and subbing to the channel, we really appreciate it. And make sure you go to repsports.com and pick you up Raise Energy and other Rep Sports apparel and protein powders and things of that nature. And use a discount code DEADHEAD96, get 15% off your entire order. With that being said, let's talk about Scream 1996. This movie is very special, man, because I feel like with a film like this, it's just hard to replicate what this really brought to the table. You know, we've had several of these movies come out now, and none of them have had the pure magic of this film. Now, looking back at it, you got a couple things you can take away. One, you knew who the killer was. You knew who the killer was pretty much right off the jump. You knew that Billy and Stu were maniacal by the things they said, the way they looked. They didn't exactly carry themselves to say, hey, I'm not the killer. Whenever the murders were brought up in front of them, they really acted in a very sketchy way. And it's funny now because I've seen the movie, I'm not even lying to you, at least a billion times. And to this day, it's still funny that, you know, if you were trying to hide who the killer was, I feel like it could have been done better. But still, when you do have that penultimate ending and you find out, okay, who the killers are, and what their plan is, and what they were going to do, it really is something. It really is something special. Yeah, I love everything about this movie. I love the music. I love the atmosphere. I think that Wes Craven feel is what makes this movie special, with like the certain musical cues. The music that I'm thinking of in right now off the top of my head is right after Casey Becker and her boyfriend Steve, they get filleted, and it shows a shot of the school, Woodsboro High, and while the camera's panning down to the curb and showing all the kids, you know, walking into class and things like that, you hear this like iconic like Scream score that now has been portrayed in the last 5 films. And I love it. Whenever I hear these musical cues, it's beautiful. It's just like in Halloween when you hear that Michael Myers theme, when you hear that original Halloween theme in general, you hear it and it's like, holy crap, dude, it still slaps even now. Like you've heard it so many times, it's still impactful. I mean, what a cast, dude. I mean, Neve Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, and Jamie Kennedy. I mean, you have, and I don't remember who plays Tatum. I don't remember what her name is, but such great actors. And this was a lot of their starts. Like they had played in stuff before, but this was like really the role that put them on the map for what this movie did. David Arquette, Courtney Cox. Sorry, I forgot about the main two. Like, wow, I feel really bad about that. But like to really see this cast, I think this cast is unmatched. I don't think there's been a cast that comes close. I guess you can make the argument for Scream 2 that the cast with everybody there was pretty reminiscent of the first film. But I will say with Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, those are the main 4. And then you have Neve Campbell in there, Sidney Prescott, It's something magical. But while we're on that subject, man, Sydney Prescott, dude. One, I had a huge crush on her growing up. Still kind of do in my adulthood. You know, that's always been kind of like my type. She's always been sort of my type. And but she plays such a good final girl. Even in the first movie, she's tough. She's badass. She can be scared when she has to be. Obviously, there's an attempt on her life several times throughout the film, and she's just someone that's like worth watching and rooting for. Even here we are now in 2022, and I found myself watching Scream 5, and I'm still rooting for it to this day. And I think that's just the acting of Neve Campbell, the character of Sydney Prescott. It really is a powerful character, and she's a Scream queen. And she always will be. And it's kind of sad to see that she's not really, I don't think she's really about this franchise like Jamie Lee Curtis is with Halloween. But she really will always be considered, in my eyes, a Scream queen. She's top tier. But I love her in this film. Skeet Ulrich as Billy Loomis, he was phenomenal. Very intimidating. Same with Matthew Lillard, man. I mean, some of the lines in this movie, and I talk about this with one thing I forgot to mention was I did make a Scream franchise ranking. I might pin it at the top of this video. It's not very well put together. It's one of my first videos I did on the channel. But I ranked this one pretty high in my ranking. I love this film. I think this is one of my favorite films of all time. Because it has so many iconic moments, Faces said your mom's no Sharon Stone, yeah, baby, come on, baby. It's just like stuff like that, dude. It's like, you telling me he's not a killer? We all get a little mad sometimes. Just great stuff. Now, I know that line was from the original Psycho with Alfred Hitchcock and stuff, but still, such great stuff, man. I love the set pieces. I love the final confrontation in Stu Macher's house, which now is like a horror. It's like a horror iconic set. Like when you think of like the most iconic settings in a horror film and in films in general, Stu's house is huge on that, and I love his house. There's so many rooms. It's creepy. It's mysterious. It's kind of got like a gothic look to it. And it's such a great place for like a final act of a film. The kills for the time were really great. The death with Steve was awesome. Casey Becker getting hung from the tree. I thought that was great. The way Tatum died, showing her nipples and all, dying in the garage door. I thought that was great. Even Harry Winkler's in the Henry Winkler, is in this. The Fonz. He plays the principal, and the way he gets killed. He gets stabbed, but it's still like his acting. Like every time he gets stabbed was like really, it's really exaggerated, but it's really good. I imagine if you're getting stabbed, it doesn't feel too good. So, dude, there's so many iconic parts, man, and so many iconic. I keep saying iconic, but some of these it's just memorable characters, man, and it really is. It's such a joy to go back and watch. Even though I've seen it so many times, I still find myself loving this movie more than any of them. I've tried to go back and watch the other ones, and I've seen those a bunch too, but it's nothing like the first one, man. And I know I probably sound like I'm rambling, and I probably am, but this is such a milestone in horror, and they really revamped it to bring in the more, kind of the state of making fun of the state of horror, and bringing it to like a more of a real life issue, with these real life murders, and these murders are inspired from the films. I thought that was a really nice take on the franchise, and something they ran with for this long, and it still works. It still holds up. And I think that's one of the things I love about this film is that even after all this time, it still holds up. And it's great, man. So anyway, I'm like rambling here. I just want to get on the camera. I had some time. It was a little late at night and can't really sleep, so I figured I'd upload this video. But let me know what you think about the original Scream film. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's corny? Is it still a fan favorite? I'm assuming it is to everybody. I mean, dude, who doesn't like the first original Scream? Even if you don't watch the other ones, you don't think the other ones are that good. The first Scream 1996, is a classic. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. And I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling. What are your favorite parts of the movie? What are your favorite characters? Let us know down in the comments. As usual, like and sub to the channel. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be seeing you very soon. Hope you guys are having a nice few days building up to Halloween. And be looking out for the podcast. October 29th at 6 p.m. EST, we are doing a complete Halloween Ends show for the podcast. And it'll be great. So I hope you guys will come in for that. And we'll see you then. Stay dead, my friends. We'll holla.